What up, you sick fucks? It's your one and only Super Beast, aka Rob Zombie here, and that's my co-host, Living Dead Girl, aka Sherry Moon Pie, aka Dirt Cream Pie. That's what I like to call her anyway. She's my wife, and always my first casting choice. People don't like it, but I'm never gonna stop. We just want to say, it's finally Halloween, and I love this holiday, even though I always feel so numb. Ever since Thunder Kiss 65, when I first rolled in the dirt with my friend Dragula, drunk on pussy liquor. We were chewing sick bubble gum laced with acid, dreaming about being an American band. That was back when everyone was fucking in the USA. But anyway, yeah, like I said, it's Halloween. Me and Sherry Moon Pie, aka Dirt Cream Pie, we got our 70s cheap plastic Halloween masks on. We want to welcome you to the show, and today we're covering my film, Halloween, not that David Gordon Green, Evil Dies Tonight, Rambo Strode, Haddonfield United pussy shit. So welcome to the Grindhouse Syndicate, and happy Halloween, fuckers, and enjoy the show. Rob Zombie went to go find a bum's jacket and a dirty top hat. He might be back later. I don't know.
It's probably not. It's probably gonna get lost in the dirt hole back there. You know, he can't resist rolling in a good hole of dirt.
Yeah, it was nice for him to stop by and do our intro, though. Thank you very much, Rob Zombie, and Sherry Moon Zombie Pie, who was also here, aka Dirt Cream Pie. But today we are talking about his 2007 remake of Halloween. We are here on location in Haddonfield, where the gruesome murders took place. We can actually say that because back in 2017, where we live, it was actually used as Haddonfield for 2018 reboot. So yeah, we can say we are technically in Haddonfield.
I mean, it would have been in the other two had South Carolina
gave them tax breaks.
Yeah, North Carolina's tax breaks apparently a whole lot better. Yeah, and righteous gemstones that apparently used up all the tax break money.
Yeah, they must not have a lot of tax breaks for one show. Well, they have that other show too, that Netflix teen drama.
I think the way that I'm pretty sure they explained it when it was happening. Danny McBride, they were trying to get it done in South Carolina, and they were lobbying to get it changed to be in for them to raise it so they could do it in here, and that made no sense. They were trying to get it done here, and they were trying to get South Carolina to raise the film industry tax break money that they'll do. And I guess it's like one big chunk of money that they'll give out. And once that's up for the year, once they give it out to the movies for the year, that's it.
Yeah, so, fuck everybody else. First come, first serve.
Yeah, North Carolina's was way higher.
So before we jump into the Halloween, though, I just wanted to say we finally finished up one of my favorite things that we got this October, which was Mike Flanagan's The Fall of the House of Usher.
That was a fucking bomb-ass show.
Yes, it was.
That's one of the best shows I think I've seen in a while. Everything Mike Flanagan does is really good, except Bly Manor, which was good, but just boring. But, man, I don't know. I think this may have been the best out of the 5 he did for Netflix.
I don't know if it's the best. It's tied for the best, probably.
Midnight Mass, I think, would go number 1. But yeah, it's gotta be at least number 2.
Yeah, I feel like it's kind of tied. Like, it was written extremely well. I mean, the characters are amazing. It doesn't have like a massive amount of horror in it, but it is a horror show. And the people that die in it die in phenomenal ways. Really, really awesome death scenes, great effects, great acting, amazing writing. All around a phenomenal show.
Yeah, hands down. I bow to Mike Flanagan. He's just fantastic. Him and his team of writers seem to nail it every time. And this was a hard one to top.
Yeah, if you don't really know a lot about it, it's an 8-episode miniseries. It was released on Netflix. It is based on works by Edgar Allan Poe. A lot of people say it's based off of the Fall of the House of Usher by Edgar Allan Poe, which it is. But if you watch it, it's I mean, everything about it is from so much stuff that Poe wrote. So if you're a big like Edgar Allan Poe fan, definitely watch it because you'll see like just a ton of stuff that is going to remind you of pretty much just about everything he ever wrote. I mean, they sprinkle it through everything.
Yeah, not only is the whole story based off of one story, but each episode is based off of another poem. So each episode has the name of a poem. And then within that, you'll also hear a lot of lines from other Edgar Allan Poe poems that that did not have their own episode. But yeah, it's the way they wrote that. It makes my head hurt even thinking about sitting down and cramming 9 poems into a show and making it make sense. But it was done beautifully.
Yeah, I came across an article that was like every Edgar Allan Poe reference in the show. And I'm 30 minutes into it and I finally got bored because I was like, man, this is like a never ending thing. I mean, everything from like the name of the company, the name of characters, just the name of just anything comes from different poems, books he wrote. I found out today he wrote one novel and there's, stuff from that. The whole entire story with the lawyer when he was younger, that is a whole entire story that he wrote. That's like a whole thing. So, yeah, definitely watch it. It has an 89% Rotten Tomatoes and a Metacritic of 74 out of 100. I think it's better than that, but
What did it get?
89% on Rotten Tomatoes.
Yeah, that's undoubtedly in the 90s. No question about that. Honestly, if I had to give it 1 through 100 off the top of my head, I would probably give it a 98. It was 2% could have been for more horror, but as far as the way it was written and the actors, I think that show was a fantastic show. And if you are a fan of Poe's work, then it is a must watch for you.
The two people that I really wanted to shout out on the show, because I mean, all the actors, everybody in it is phenomenal. But I'd say Bruce Greenwood, who played kind of the main, like the head of the family, the main guy, Roderick Usher, he did phenomenal. Like he carried that show. And it's interesting because he actually wasn't the original Roderick that was cast. They cast another guy. And then there was some controversy with that guy. So they kind of grabbed Bruce Greenwood at the last minute. And man, lucky us because this dude killed it.
Yeah, he's all around a fantastic actor.
Another one that I think gets kind of overlooked was Mark Hamill. I knew Mark Hamill was in this before it came out. And then I seen him in the very first episode. I said, yep, that's Mark Hamill. But then he does such a good job at being this character and being different that you forget that that's Mark Hamill within the first episode. And I remember thinking about the last episode, kind of trying to think about, because a lot of the actors in this are actors from the previous miniseries that Mike Flanagan has done. And I was kind of going through my head and picking like which ones that he used from which shows and which ones he pulled from like last year's show. And then I was like, well, who plays the lawyer again? It's fucking Mark Hamill. Like of course I know that, but he does, like, he changes his voice and everything for this movie. Phenomenal job.
Yeah, come to think about it, I think it was his very last scene in the last episode. When he's sitting down in the house is whenever I thought back and realized, oh shit, this is Mark Hamill.
Yeah, does an excellent job. But if you're on the fence about watching that, definitely check it out. It's not like it's something I'd say you need to watch, because this episode comes out the day before Halloween. I wouldn't say it's something you need to watch on Halloween. Pick a really good horror movie, but still jump into it right after Halloween's over. It is a show that you can pretty much watch any point in time, and it's going to be great.
Yeah, you also don't have to be a huge lover of horror to really love the show. So it's good shit.
Yeah, and it also leaves, it's one thing it does really well is you spend the whole entire 8 episodes trying to figure out what's going on. Like, it does kind of give you a little more stuff each episode, but you will rack your brain trying to figure out what the fuck is going on here.
And I think that's Mike Flanagan. That's something that all of his series have been like that. You know, every one of them, you spend the whole time trying to figure out what the fuck is going on. I think that is what part of what one of the things that makes him an extremely good. Is he the showrunner for that?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Everything he does is really good, and it's one of those that you're not going to figure it out. Like, you're not going to watch 1 or 2 episodes and figure it out. It's never predictable with him.
No, you're not going to guess it. I don't think you're going to guess it. I would definitely have not guessed it. But anyway, 2 other things I want to hit on real quick. Well, 2 movies. So just in case you need something to watch for Halloween, The Nun 2 has hit HBO Max. It came out on HBO Max October 27th. And Saw X is now available to rent on Amazon Prime for $20. So if you want to catch these 2 movies that were just in the theater or still in the theater, you don't want to go out to the theater, especially on Halloween, you can catch these 2 brand new movies at home. But anyway, if you want to know what is going on with the show, talk about or request movies for us to cover, you can always find out what is happening by checking out some of our social media accounts. You can find us on Facebook at the Grindhouse Syndicate Horror Podcast, Instagram at grindhousesyndicate.horror.pod, and sometimes we do some TikTok videos, like the time we let Chucky host the show, or if you want to see our spooktacular Halloween decorations, then head on over to TikTok and look up the Grindhouse Syndicate. Oh, well, no, it's just the Grindhouse Horror Podcast at grindhouse.horror.pod. And as always, you can find that stuff in the show notes. So, Halloween is a 2007 American slasher film written, directed, and produced by Rob Zombie. It is a remake of John Carpenter's 1978 film of the same name and the 9th installment in the Halloween franchise. A lot of those movies.
Yeah.
A
Yeah,
lot.
good bit.
Yep. The film stars Malcolm McDowell, Sherry Moon Zombie, Tyler Mane, Scout Taylor Compton, Brad Dourif, and Danielle Harris, amongst many others. It follows Michael Myers, who murdered his family as a child and becomes institutionalized at an asylum before breaking out and stalking Laurie Strode and her friends on Halloween night. It was written and directed by Zombie. Cinematography was by Phil Parmet, produced by Dimension Films, and distributed by the Weinstein/MGM Company. Actual interesting thing, Weinstein and MGM only distributed it here in the U.S. Paramount distributed it around the rest of the world. Yeah.
That's strange.
Yeah. It's because something, I think Paramount had actually purchased a large stake in Dimension Films, a couple years prior. And this big chunk that they had bought basically gave them the rights to distribute stuff everywhere but, like North America, I think.
Sure, they made some good money.
Oh, yeah. It's just weird, though, that a Michael Myers movie was distributed by Paramount, because that's normally, Friday the 13th.
Yeah, so you mentioned this is number 9 in the series. I didn't realize it until you said that, but with the 3 new ones, there's now 13, and Halloween has overtaken Friday the 13th
Yep.
in movies, in the amount of movies. Never realized that.
Yeah, it's a bummer, but, I don't know, maybe David Gordon Green will do a Friday the 13th trilogy, because everything he does is trilogies now. I hope he doesn't.
I hope it's not him.
I hope he doesn't, but, he might.
I hope Blumhouse does, and I hope that they choose somebody else.
It was released August 31st, 2007 to 3,472 theaters in North America, giving it the widest release of any previous of the films. It made a little over $10 million on its opening day, with a total of $26 million for the whole weekend. Good job.
How much did it make total?
We're about to say the total.
Okay.
That was just for that opening weekend. It was opening day, opening weekend. And then it had a budget of $15 million and a total box office of $80.4 million. The film received generally negative reviews, but it made so much money, it got a sequel, Halloween 2 was released in 2009. So it made $80.4 million total.
That's pretty good.
Well, I thought that too. Do you know how much money the 2018 Halloween made?
Oh God. Well, I know that was massive when it came out. I would probably guess 200 million. Close.
Pretty close.
Yeah.
It made $155 million. So,
Yeah.
that tells me that our Haddonfield here is better than Haddonfield of California.
Yeah.
It was
Yeah.
the set.
Yeah.
The
It was
set design
Charleston.
here
Yeah.
in our city. That's what gave it that 155.
That had to
I
be it.
truly believe that.
Because movie to movie, I wouldn't
No.
say that one's definitely not 2 times better than this movie.
I would agree. So we'll talk about the production. So after the release of Halloween H2O and Halloween Resurrection, there was various ideas on how to proceed with the 9th installment. After the release of Freddy vs. Jason in 2003, Dimension Films attempted to produce a crossover with the Hellraiser franchise. One of the ideas was to have a young Michael Myers open the laminate configuration, becoming possessed by Sam Hain, who was fleeing from hell, and this would explain Michael's need to murder and his invincibility. The rest of the film would show the Cenobites attempting to capture him. Whoa.
Gotta say,
movie.
yeah, that I'm glad that didn't happen.
I'd fucking watch that.
I know you would, but
I would totally watch that.
With crossovers like that, I feel like there's so much room to mess things up. Like if Freddy versus Jason, of course, we wanted that after the end. The only good part of Jason Goes to Hell is the glove, and we really wanted that to happen. But had that never happened, and you came to me now and told me that they were going to do a crossover between Freddy and Jason, I would be like, oh no, because there's so much room to mess that up. And just like, Freddy versus Jason almost did get messed up. It was shit tons of really
messed up 100 times.
really, really bad scripts for it. But with that said, that would be a really interesting movie. I'll say that.
Well, this crossover idea was ultimately canceled after 52% of responders to an online poll disapproved of the project. It's really surprising to me that you would base a big project like that on an internet poll. I mean, I didn't know about the poll. I didn't vote. I didn't hear anything about this poll.
Yeah, we were a lot younger back then too.
Yeah, but I mean, it's not like that's like a whole consensus of all horror fans. Like that's just a poll on some kind of website. That's there's a very small percentage of people that probably voted on that would have watched this movie. It's just weird to me.
But even a small percentage still tends to, as numbers grow, represent a whole population. As long as it wasn't like 10 people. Once you get a certain amount of people, it's kind of representative of the whole population. With that said, I kind of disagree. I don't think it's a bad idea for them to start polling stuff before they, there's a lot of bad decisions that have been made in movies that imagine had they polled the script for Jason Goes to Hell and said, hey guys, what if we make a whole Friday the 13th with Jason not in it? I'm pretty sure that would have got voted no. There's always going to be 1 or 2% that's going to vote, no matter how obvious something is. But yeah, that's interesting. What did they do the poll through?
I don't know.
Did they use I wonder if they used like a social media. Back then would have been MySpace. MySpace didn't even work like that though.
I have no idea. I feel like it was on Dimension's website or something, something like that. I don't have no idea. But anyway, on June 4th, 2006, Dimension Films announced that Rob Zombie would be creating the next installment in the franchise. Bob Weinstein approached him about making the film. Zombie, who was a fan of the original, jumped at the chance to make the movie. Zombie did feel obligated to inform John Carpenter about the film out of respect. Carpenter's only request was for Zombie to make the film his own, which I think he did.
I think he absolutely did.
But, we'll talk about John Carpenter's opinion Here in a second.
Well, I hope he didn't hate on it after he told them to make it his own film. But
Well, it's John Carpenter, so
I feel like a lot of people hate it because he did make it his own film. But, I will get into that more, I'm sure.
So on June 16th, 2006, Zombie announced that his film would combine the elements of a prequel and a remake with considerable original content and would disregard the many sequels that followed the original Halloween. Production officially began on January 29th of 2007. The mask was designed to be an exact shape and replication of the original, and filming was done in the same neighborhood as the 1978 film. John Carpenter said in a Q&A in 2016 that he took issue with Zombie's comments about him being cold when discussing the project and noted that this will color his perception of the film. He also didn't like that Zombie gave Myers a backstory, saying it takes away from the mystique and explains too much about Myers. He also said, quote, "I don't care about that. He's supposed to be a force of nature." Fucking John Carpenter.
Yeah. In a lot of cases, I would say, like, don't give him a backstory because we don't, it does take away from some of the mystique. But I gotta say that I thought this was done really, really good. It's one of the parts of the film that I enjoy the most. I don't know how you're gonna tell somebody to make it their own and then make those comments.
I think the backstory is the best part of this movie because
Outside of Danielle Harris, yeah.
Because the reason I say that is because the backstory doesn't affect anything about Myers and anything he's done in any of the other movies or anything he does really in this movie, except for the fact that Myers can take gunshots and still keep moving. But that's always been a thing with him. This just shows that he was kind of this crazed psychopath even to when he was a child. And then it shows that, to pile on and make that worse was all this other stuff going on in his life. So
yeah, that's one thing I was going to get at later on. But since we're talking about it, for one, it shows how demented he was as a child, but he has this really terrible background. He has this terrible stepdad that's an asshole. It's kind of a really white, trashy family. And he just was not dealt a great hand. So that combined with his already really fucked up mental state was just the perfect storm to create pure evil.
On December 18th, 2007, the film was released on DVD, both the theatrical 110-minute and the unrated director's cut 121 minutes was released as a 2-disc special. There was also a 3-disc special, which includes a 4-hour documentary on the making of the film. This movie's fucking long.
Did you say a 4-hour documentary?
4-hour documentary. I mean, it's 3 discs.
Wow.
Couldn't even fit the damn thing on the other disc.
It really, really wanted to get a long documentary in there.
Yeah.
It's rare that you get the documentary about the movie is way, way longer than the movie.
2 of the movies.
Did they just is it the whole movie being filmed?
I don't know. I've never had 4 hours to watch the documentary on
They make
this.
you watch 18 takes of one scene.
I don't know. So the ratings, Rotten Tomatoes, it's terribly low. I mean, the last Rob Zombie movie we did was terribly low. Probably the lowest. 28%.
Yeah, that's fucking laughable.
That's rough. IMDb, it's a 6 out of 10. Letterboxd gave it a 2.7 out of 5 stars. And the Google average audience rating is actually a 4-star. So this is people actually just hopping on there and voting for it. 4 out of 5 stars is what the audience gave it.
Yeah, and that's what these ratings should reflect, is how much people are going to like the movie. And when they don't, that shows you how flawed some of the ratings are. 28%.
That's
a 2.8 out of 10 is like I said, it's laughable.
Yeah, it sucks. If you would like to watch this movie after this episode, Peacock has it, Hulu Premium subscription has it, or you can rent it for $2 on Amazon, Apple, or Vudu. It it actually for a while was on Tubi for free, and I almost watched it so many times. But I think it just left like the first week of October or something. Like it had just took off and went to Peacock, I guess.
And Tubi's gonna have to start paying some money. Be giving Tubi some shout outs.
Oh man,
they are
I
they
fucking
are
love
good
Tubi.
though. They
Tubi's
are.
amazing. If you are somebody like me who grew up in the '90s, kind of catching all of these late night, like USA Network and the Joe Bob, thing, and
TNT.
and yeah, and you caught a lot of major horror movies and not so major horror movies. Tubi's where you can go to find a lot of those kind of not as known or not as big budget horror movies that you may have watched a couple times when you were younger and you just want to revisit it again. Or if you were also like me who went into the movie rental place all the time and just went and just grabbed something with a cool cover that in the horror section. I did that so many times. And Tubi is the best place to find they have a lot of big movies too. I mean, they had this movie, but yeah, that's what's best about Tubi is you can totally find some just off the wall random shit that you think would be on Shudder because Shudder's all about horror movies. But in the past year and a half, man, Shudder has not really updated their library in a while.
I have to agree with that. I think Tubi's horror library should definitely those two should be switched around for Shudder being a channel that is dedicated to horror. They don't have a whole lot of really. They have a lot of horror, but they should have, I think, more bigger horror movies than they do. Especially considering Tubi can pull that off, and Tubi's free.
Yeah, I think half of what is on Shudder is also on Tubi. That's one thing I've noticed because I still have Shudder. I only pay like $8 or something, and there's still some stuff I go there to watch, but half of it you can find, like the older movies, you can find on Tubi. But so yeah, Tubi, won't you throw me some money because I'm doing a commercial for you damn near every episode.
Yeah, we need that advertisement money. Keep pulling in awesome horror movies, Tubi. Shout out to you.
So we start off with we'll jump. You ready to jump to the plot? I went too far ahead there.
Yeah,
All right.
let's do it. Thought we were kind of getting into that already a little bit.
Yeah. So we start off with a simple black and white title card, and then we get a shot of this unkept, like 2-story home with some kind of basic Halloween decorations, and it tells us that this story takes place in Haddonfield, Illinois, on October 31st. We meet a young 10-year-old boy named Michael Myers who is playing with his pet rat. Then we jump downstairs and we meet the rest of the Myers family. We have Deborah Myers, who is raising 3 children after her husband has passed away. She is an exotic dancer and the household's only income. She is dating a man named Ronnie, who is very abusive to Deborah and her children, and especially her son, Michael.
This dude's a fucking creep, dude. Like, makes a comment about his stepdaughter's ass.
Yeah, he is.
Creep.
It's like everybody in this household hates him, and he hates everybody in this household.
I don't. That kind of makes me look down on Deborah Myers because why would you stay with somebody like this that talks to your kids like that? Very, very inappropriate comments. Every scene he's in, he's saying something that should not be said.
Yeah, he's a piece of shit for sure. Then we meet Judith Myers, Michael's older teenage sister, who is, pretty promiscuous and also very mean to her younger brother. Michael also has a baby sister named Angel, who he has nicknamed Boo. We see during the morning breakfast scene that this family is very dysfunctional and abusive to each other, with Deborah always being gone to work and trying to support the family. I feel like Deborah Myers is kind of the referee between everybody, and she's kind of the glue that holds these people together, but she's not there so much. So it's just these people are constantly at each other, and then she kind of gets dragged into it, and then obviously she can get nasty as well. So
Yeah, shout out to Sherry Moon Zombie though. This is some of the best acting that she does.
yeah, it's nice to see her as like a real character.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
I feel, she's great as Baby Firefly, but Baby Firefly's not like a real person. Could be, but, it'd be a very rare person. But this, there's probably millions of this person in this world.
Yeah.
Millions of Deborah Myers is running around.
Yeah, she played this part extremely well.
Yeah, so the reason Rob Zombie actually had her play that part is because he wanted Michael Myers' mom to be tall to explain why he's so tall. So that's actually the reason he gave her that part.
Is that his excuse?
Besides the fact that they're together. No, there's another part that he wanted to give her. That
Please don't tell me Laurie Strode.
I will tell you later on, and you're gonna shit a brick.
I was gonna make a joke that I'm surprised he didn't make her Laurie Strode. And man,
well,
this movie, I just couldn't take that serious.
Well, in about an hour and 40 minutes, you're gonna find out. So while the rest of the family is downstairs eating breakfast and screaming at each other, Michael is upstairs cleaning blood off his knife after murdering and dismembering his pet rat. What a piece of shit. And I want to take this time to say that at this point, we've done 2 Rob Zombie movies back to back, which we didn't mean to do. That was a total accident, but here we are. Rob Zombie has an obsession with those old plastic Halloween kids masks. You remember in House of a Thousand Corpses when they bust into the Captain Spaulding's, that guy has that little plastic shitty monkey thing on.
He does.
Which is, Rob mentioned that in this intro here on the show. He likes those.
And then at dinner in House of a Thousand Corpses, they all have to wear those weird ass like homemade masks that they have to put on.
And this really weird coincidence thing happened about 4 days ago. Is on like my YouTube or something, I was just like looking for something to kill like 10 minutes or 5 minutes, and I come across this video that says Rob Zombie with the MTV like interviewer or something looking for Halloween stuff, and it was from like 1995. So I click it and I watch it, and it's him and this girl who works for like MTV, and they're going to these like little small hole in the wall Halloween stores for him to buy like decorations or some shit for his house. And he gets so excited and buys so many of these little shitty 1970s plastic Halloween masks, the same ones we see in all these fucking movies. And he's talking about, and the lady asked him, why do you want to buy these masks when you can buy like these nice, expensive, big, full head latex masks? And he basically is like, this was when times were simpler. This is a much like kind of simpler thing. And, why waste the money on some big latex piece of shit? And I'm like, you're calling that a piece of shit when that little plastic thing right there is going to break.
That sounds like such a Rob Zombie thing to do. He's always got to, I hate to say, he's one of those people who's always got to be different.
He is a goth hipster.
He is. He is totally a hipster. No doubt.
But then, so I've seen House of a Thousand Corpses and we talked about that. Then I see this thing on YouTube the other day, and then we watch this movie, and he's another one. And I was like, so obviously this is his thing.
How many IPAs do you think he consumes?
All of them.
He does. He's tried every single one of them.
Yep. Next, we jump over to Michael arriving at school. He heads into the bathroom where he is discovered by 2 boys who often bully him. It becomes very obvious they fucking hate him. One of the boys mentions to Michael that he knows that his mom is an exotic dancer and that he should get her to perform some sexual acts on him. I mean, it's like, bro, you're in like fucking middle school. You got a little middle school sized dick. Like, she is not gonna fuck with you. The fact that you even made that joke like to an adult's laughable. Maybe I get when another kid, that's some serious shit. But as an adult, I'm like, bro, not happening. That's not even a realistic joke.
Yeah, that's rough too, because he like pulls out a cutout of a magazine for the strip club with his mom on it. Yeah, like damn, man, that hurts.
Yeah, so he pulls out this newspaper ad for the strip club that features Deborah Myers' photo. And, this is it. Michael's done hit his point. Michael attacks the kid, and they all three kind of end up in this fight. These two kids basically end up just beating Michael's ass, but props to him for going to town, even though he knew he was outnumbered. But the principal walks in and stops the fight and begins to yell at all three of the boys. Michael then looks him in the eyes with this look of rage and says, "Fuck you." The guy's like, "What did you say?" And Michael repeats it, "Fuck you." Good job, man. Good job, 10-year-old Michael Myers.
Yeah, the kid that plays him does a really good job. He says "fuck you" with some authority. For a 10-year-old kid, he knows how to angrily put out "fuck you."
Yeah, he's amazing in this movie. I did find out the reason that he's actually not in the second one is not because of his performance or anything. It's because he had grown. He had such a huge growth spurt in the past 2 years that it would be weird.
Yeah,
And if you see him now, I've seen him as an adult, and he's thinned out a lot too. So yeah, I don't know. Maybe that was going on too. He's got a little bit of baby fat here.
Yeah, I'd read a long time ago that he had grown too much for the part, and that's unfortunate because I don't think the kid that plays him in the second one is obviously not in it nearly as much, but
I don't even remember him.
He's he doesn't look much like him. He's like another kid with blonde hair, but.
So Deborah Myers is called into the school for Michael's behavior, and during this meeting, the principal introduces Deborah to a child psychologist named Dr. Loomis. Deborah doesn't believe that Michael needs any help and attempts to leave, but the principal then pulls a dead cat from Michael's bag. She acts like this is not a big deal. She says this is not a big deal.
Yeah, I would be deeply fucking concerned at this point.
Yeah.
If they told me that my kid was carrying around a dead fucking cat in a bag, in his book bag at school, I would be like, you're right. We do need to talk. He obviously needs some fucking help.
Yeah, that is I mean, she claims it's roadkill. It doesn't matter. Even if it's roadkill, you don't carry a dead body around in your backpack at school, period.
Yeah, roadkill or not, those are equally as bad. It's more of the fact that it is a dead body that he's not only keeping, but he's taking it to school with him. That's fucking weird. If this was my kid, I would feel sick. If a teacher pulled this out of a bag and I realized that my kid was carrying this around, I would literally probably throw up.
So they then show her a stack of photos that Michael had of dead, mutilated animals. I mean, this gets worse. She then realizes that this is a much bigger issue than she thought. Michael, he hears this meeting from the hallway and he decides to get the fuck out of there as fast as possible. He's gone.
It's like my cover's blown. They know about the dead cats.
Yep. Yeah, because, he plays it off like his mom thinks he loves animals, and what he really loves doing is killing them and dismembering them.
Yeah.
Weird. Next, we see the bully kid walking home after school, and Michael's stalking him. He's got his stalking skills already sharpened. I don't know if this is the first person or first thing he's stalked, but he's pretty good at it.
It's all those animals.
He's
stalking all those fucking cats. It's hard to sneak up on a cat.
That it is. This kid takes a shortcut through the woods. You should know better than to take a shortcut. You always get fucked up in a shortcut, but whatever.
He's a kid, man. He thought he was safe.
Yeah. As he is walking through the woods, Michael steps out from behind a tree and delivers a crushing blow to the kid's legs with a big ass tree branch. Takes him fucking down. We then see that Michael is wearing his clown mask and delivering blow after blow to this kid's body. The kid begs for him to stop, but Michael is full of rage and just repeatedly beating him. He takes a moment to remove his mask. He then reaches down to remove the strip club ad from the kid's pocket, pulls down his mask, and then he delivers the final 4 blows.
This fucking kill is absolutely brutal. I love that they wrote his first kill into the movie.
Yeah.
And it's so brutal. it really sets the tone for the movie going forward. Thought this was great.
We jump to later on at the Myers' house. Michael is dressed up in his clown costume. He's waiting to go trick-or-treating. Deborah is leaving for work, and she informs Judith and her boyfriend to take Michael to go get candy. She agrees, but then ultimately backs out right after Deborah leaves. Michael says, fuck it, I'll just go by myself. And I would do the same. I wouldn't even want to go with her. She fucking sucks.
Yeah. Yeah, I was thinking about it during that scene, and I was like, man, this sucks. Like, I was thinking back, there was never a year that I ever trick-or-treated on my own.
Yeah,
that would suck.
Yeah,
like,
it would
if I wasn't with family, I was at least with friends. That would be as a kid, a
devastating.
very, very, depressing, devastating. And I love the shot too of him sitting there eating the candy, and how they keep doing the back and forth shot of his mom at work and then him sitting there like depressed. They're playing, I think the song's Love Hurts. I thought cinematography wise, thought that was put together really well.
While Michael is gone, we see that Judith and her boyfriend are doing sexy time stuff, and her boyfriend stops to put a mask on that he wants to wear while they fuck.
Yeah.
It's why weird. Would you want to do that? And especially that mask.
Some people are into some stuff, but yeah, that's a weird mask to pull out.
Well, that mask it's like big on him, and it's
funny.
like and it's like you know that while you're like getting the rhythm going, it's just gonna be like bobbling around on your fucking face. It's not even like a tight fit. It's not secure. It's got to be hot. It's like latex. Like, I don't know. I thought all kinds of things wrong with this.
This is God, what the fuck is his name? The Star Trek guy that the mask is based off of.
It's Captain
William Shatner.
Yeah,
it's a fucking William Shatner mask. Like, what woman wants you putting William Shatner's face on and fucking her?
Oh,
like,
William Shatner mask.
Yeah, it's not even like outside of Halloween, it wouldn't be really that scary of a mask like William Shatner. Like, if we're going to pull out like a ghost face mask or something, that's one thing. But William Shatner?
But yeah, this is where we get introduced to, the infamous solid white Captain Kirk William Shatner mask, which is, obviously very famous for Michael Myers, but this is the origin of the mask. We then see Michael return home with a bag full of candy. Ronnie is asleep in front of the TV with Judith and her boyfriend upstairs. Michael sits at the kitchen table and eats candy corn, looking pretty bored. All right, I got some thoughts real quick. This is going to shed light on the whole franchise. Here we go. So what's wrong with Michael is, it's not the murder, it's not the mutilation of animals, it's not like his, fucked up home life, it's not him being bullied at school. It's that he likes candy corn.
Yeah, that's probably a good point.
This is the origin of this psycho murderer who is like invincible. It's the candy corn.
Maybe it was a way of self-harm. He's depressed. Maybe instead of cutting himself, he forces himself to eat candy corn.
Yeah. Kind of like the in the lodge where the girl like burns her knees to repent.
Yeah.
You eat candy corn to repent. Listen, if your family or friends, anybody that you know closely, eats candy corn, report them to the police. Contact law enforcement and tell them about this candy corn abuse. It could save theirs or ultimately other people's lives. Candy corn's dangerous.
It is dangerous. It is it's dangerous to other people. Not dangerous to you. It's dangerous to the friends and the family of whoever's eating it, because they're probably a psychopath.
Candy corn is, people try to say, oh, well, it's candy and I like it. But I know that that's not true. I know that's not true. Candy corn comes from China. It's made in the same lab fentanyl's made in, but worse. It's dirtier. I've seen it. It's gross. Don't eat candy corn. Report anybody that does eat candy corn. This is a true story. This story here is a true story, and candy corn is the fault of it. Big candy corn, like Big Pharma, is hiding the truth.
They made this movie to cover up what really happened.
Yeah.
Tried to make it like it was his fucked up home life and
It's like the
his
9/11
fucked
of
up
candy.
mental issues. Candy corn creates pure evil.
Candy corn kills 367 million Americans a year. It's more than heart disease.
The whole country. Every year.
We'd have so many more people if it wasn't for candy corn. But so Michael grabs some duct tape and he begins to tape Ronnie to his chair. We assume Ronnie must be so drunk he doesn't feel it, because I was like, if somebody taped me to a fucking chair, I'd wake up pretty quick.
Yeah,
that's a lot of tape too. Like that took him some time.
Tapes the fuck out of him. Like this might be a roll and a half of duct tape that he manages to wrap around like every part of Ronnie, like his arms, it's around his chest, it's in his hair, his forehead's like pinned back. This guy must have been fucking blasted on his Percocets that he was obviously. Well, I don't even think they had Percocets back then. It must have been his morphine.
Something
he's
like
been
that.
Taking morphine for his fucked up leg or whatever's wrong with him, fucked up back. I don't know. This is the one kill where I'm like, you know what? I probably would have killed this motherfucker too.
Interesting thing, the actor who played him actually did have a real broken leg, and that was his real cast. Yeah, it's interesting. He like broke it right before. The original character was only supposed to have a broken hand, like broken arm or whatever. But then this guy broke his leg in real life, and they're like, well, it fucking fits.
I hope that's the only thing that the actor has in common with him, because this guy sucks.
He was in Devil's Rejects. He's been in a few Rob Zombie movies, but then Michael kind of he's got him duct taped to the chair, and he stands behind him and he slices his throat with a very large butcher knife. Ronnie immediately wakes up, but he can't move, and he quickly bleeds to death as Michael stares him in the eyes.
This is a very, very gory slit throat. I fucking love it. It's good stuff. It's the complete opposite of what the original would have did, but I absolutely love it. And I love that he lifts the mask up and lets Ronnie see, like, look at him in the face as he's laying there bleeding to death.
I mean, he's under the influence of candy corn right now, and you can see it. You can see it in his face.
The pupils are definitely dilated
in the shape of candy corns.
Gross.
When we see Judah's boyfriend, he heads downstairs and he goes to make a sandwich. And as he is stealing all the Myers' family lunch meat, Michael walks up behind him and strikes him in the head with a metal bat. The lunch meat thief then falls to the floor, where Michael repeatedly full sends that fucking bat into that dude's head.
Bro, I love this kill. After the first shot to the back of the head, when he starts having a seizure, like the detail, it made it a lot more like gruesome, but a lot more realistic too. That he's sitting there like, in real life, a lot of people who take really bad head trauma will have seizures. It's something to do with your brain's trying to protect itself, and I thought that was awesome. I thought the thought to put the seizure in the movie, like that's one thing I don't think I've ever seen in another horror movie, is anybody ever take a shot to the head and have a seizure. And we get that shot of his like leg twitching and he's seizing up, and then Michael just goes to fucking town with that baseball bat. And it's the result is a beautiful thing.
Well, I think this scene's also important because, we see that Michael doesn't only kill people that treat him wrong. Like, this guy didn't really he was not actually mean to him.
He did say sorry, Squirt.
I mean, the little bit of interaction
called him a squirt.
He just didn't really seem like he was nowhere near. He didn't really seem like he had any issue with him. And Michael never really says anything about him. And I think it just shows that, once Michael's in killing mode, it really doesn't matter. It doesn't matter the situation. He just kills. Like, he's just this killing machine, drunk off candy corn.
Yeah. This one's just the after shot of his head is one of my favorite parts as far as the gore and the effects of the entire movie.
A fuck ton of blood.
His beaten skull looks fucking awesome. So shout out to the FX team on that one.
So once Michael is satisfied with the brain relocation attempt, he then walks upstairs. We then see him walk into Judith's room where she is lying on the bed asleep with headphones on. I wonder how many horror movies has Don't Fear the Reaper been in?
I don't know, but I told you that I think in our second episode, I forgot what movie it was in. It was one of our first episodes that this is the movie I think of every time I hear this song now. I think of this particular kill.
It's funny, I actually think about Scream.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You told me that, I think, in that episode.
Anyway, we see Michael put on the white Captain Kurt mask, and he is holding this huge butcher knife. He starts like gently touching Judith's legs, kind of like sexually, I guess. And this awakens Judith, and when she sees it is her brother, she gets pissed. She starts asking him like what's wrong with him. She starts like smacking him in the face, and he then answers her back by stabbing the shit out of her. We see her stumble down the hallway. She's like covered in blood. Michael kind of slowly walks up behind her, and then he carves her up like a Christmas ham.
Yeah, the slices are brutal. Like she's trying to get away, and you see him come from behind. And one thing I'll say is this kid wearing this full-size Michael Myers mask. This scene would probably be fucked up 9 out of 10 times. Like this is such a easy scene to do and it come out like cringy looking. Like how do you take this little kid and put a full-size adult Michael Myers mask on him and make him kill 3 adults and it be realistic and be done good? I thought they did it amazing.
Yeah, this is every one of his kills as a child is amazing. It really, I mean, every one of them. Like, I would almost argue that in this movie, his killing style as a kid is better than his killing style as an adult.
He's getting those fucking hormones
it's almost
raging.
more brutal. And I don't know if it's more brutal. We see it more brutal because he's a child. But it seems like older Michael just kind of kills quick to get it out of the way. But this is almost like revenge murder. This is different.
Yeah, like I said, he's got those hormones raging. He's how old is he in this movie? Like 12?
He's 10.
10?
Yep.
Well, they're starting in there because he's got some serious fucking rage boiling in the background. I think, and we'll get obviously at the end of the episode on best kill, but I think that as far as groups of kills, that this is the some of the best kills we get in the movie.
So sometime later that night, Deborah arrives home from work to find Michael and the baby sitting out on the front porch. This worries Deborah, who tries to ask Michael like what's wrong, but he doesn't answer. He's like in this like trance state. We then jump to a little bit later where there are tons of cops, the coroner's there. There's a bunch of news reporters, like the whole 9 yards. And there's this really cool camera scene where everything's frozen.
Yep.
And it kind of pans across like the whole, not necessarily like, murder.
It's the crime scene.
It's the crime scene, but it's from outside the crime scene. And you get this amazing, like everything's frozen, but it's panning. And then, it stops on Michael kind of sitting in the cop car. That is, cinematography wise, my favorite scene in the movie.
Yeah, I had a highlight on that as well. Shout out to the cinematographers on that scene. Thought that was done really cool. And the way he locks eyes with the camera when he looks over in the car and just has this evil look in his eyes. That was really cool. Cool scene.
It's really cool too because, everything's frozen. Like, you see all the people frozen. There's like they're holding like a blanket and the blanket's like frozen in the air. But then there's other stuff like the lights and shit is still like moving. So it's just this kind of weird, kind of freaky. Some stuff's moving, but most of the stuff is not. But
it's like everything's frozen, but the police siren lights are still flickering back and forth. Like they're not locked into one color. It was a well thought out scene.
We then get a 11th month time jump and kind of this quick news report that basically says 10-year-old Michael was found guilty of first-degree murder. he has been sent to Smith Grove Sanitarium for incarceration, and that the judge has assigned Dr. Samuel Loomis to care for Michael during his time at Smith Grove.
What is the chances of that?
Yeah. Well, yeah, he just got basically almost a lifelong paycheck.
Yeah, it's
Lucky
just
him.
they brought in this random doctor at school. The principal brought in this doctor at school to talk to him, and it just so happens to be the guy works for this mental facility that he
Well-
gets sent to.
Well, so there's I guess some scenes that got cut out a little bit because the news report says it was the longest and most expensive criminal case in the state's history. And some of the stuff that got cut out is like, so Loomis actually testified in court for Michael's case, and he basically also wrote like a letter to the judge that says that, you know, he didn't believe Michael should be let free, that he needed to be pretty much locked up forever. And that's the reason why the judge like assigned him to it, is because I guess he had prior experience with Michael before the killing, even though it was like one meeting with his mom. And then he goes into the court and argues that, you know, he evaluated him and he should be locked up. And then, you know,
He totally didn't evaluate him. He
did
didn't even
not.
meet him. He met his mom.
Yeah.
That's it. What a way to sneak yourself into a paycheck.
Yeah. But we see a bunch of meetings with Loomis, and Michael seems to have like no memory of the murders. He isn't really like affected by it either. He doesn't realize like his whole family is dead. Like he even asks about them.
Well, see, I wondered that. Does he really not know, or is he playing that off because he's a psychopath and he's not dumb? Does he know that if he plays that up, it might get him out one day?
You know, I don't know. I mean, that's a possibility, but at the same time, he goes into this rage and then he goes into this trance afterwards, like at the crime scene. He doesn't really try to like get away or anything.
Well,
So,
think about this. He stashed the mask and knife before his mom even got home in the house, and he goes and gets it later on.
Yeah, I know
So
that.
he remembers what happened.
I don't know. You know, the brain is a mystery to even people who study brains. Sometimes weird shit happens. I don't really think there's any evidence to say he does or does not remember it. He could be making it up. I don't know.
Yeah, it's hard to tell, and that's one thing. Another of the prequel side of this movie that I love is this whole everything coming up. They show his descent into darkness, because I will say, this kid is a great actor. Like, he plays the really psychotic, dark, raging Michael really well, but then he'll turn around and play a perfect kid, like a completely normal kid. And this kind of the next 10 minutes of the movie really does a good job showing his descent into darkness.
So we see that Deborah continues to visit him every week, and Michael always asks her like when he can go home. Michael starts to make masks out of paper and tape, and he begins to kind of wear them during him and Loomis's meetings, which kind of progresses him into constantly wearing them. And during this, Michael pretty much begins to shut down emotionally, and it becomes like more and more, and eventually he kind of stops talking to anybody. During one of Deborah's visits, Michael just sits in silence. She eventually decides to leave, and her and Loomis exit the room, and Loomis instructs a nurse to watch over Michael while he is gone. Michael then stabs her in the neck with a fork and begins to go into an uncontrollable rage.
Yeah, he fucking rages. One thing that I thought was interesting is, so Deborah asked him to take the mask off at one point, and he says, no, that it hides his ugliness. And I thought that was a kind of really insightful statement that he made, because if you look, every kill that he has as a kid, he puts the mask on right before he does it. And that comment that it kind of hides his ugliness, I think gives some insight in the fact that he knows what he's doing from the outside, from other people's perspective, is a really bad thing. And he kind of tries to hide behind the mask.
Yeah, I mean, it makes sense that he has very low self-esteem because everyone around him, school, home, everything, does nothing but downs him. He doesn't really get any positive reinforcement except for his mom. That's it. Then we see kind of Deborah sitting at home. She's watching like old family videos and crying. She obviously believes that Michael is no longer the same kid and that he is unsavable at this point.
Yeah, they lock eyes whenever he kills her with that fork. And I think that was the turning point for her, because he's like freaking out and he's got that evil look in his eyes. I think that's the first time that she sees it. That, as a parent, you're kind of in denial. You kind of want to.
She thinks it's a one-time.
Yeah.
He snapped. It's a one-time thing, but then he kills this person.
For no
X
reason.
amount of time later, over a year later, for no reason, just to do it.
Yeah. Yep, I think that was the turning point for her. That was the nail in the coffin for her, when they locked eyes and he's like screaming whenever the security guards are pulling her back. I think that was it.
We then see her commit suicide with a gun. We hear the gun go off, and then we hear Michael's baby sister screaming in the background. We then jump 15 years later, and Michael has definitely been eating his vegetables because he's fucking huge.
Yes, he is.
Yeah, we end up meeting like this new guard too, and I call him the scruffy white guard, and I'm pretty sure he watches NASCAR.
Yeah,
he's like a NASCAR guy.
Yeah.
Like, this has nothing to do with the movie, but I want to throw that out there real quick. One of the things I got like sucked into watching videos a couple weeks ago is, like all the video games are online now. So NASCAR's video games are also online, and you, I guess, could get on there and kind of enter into a lobby with a bunch of other people that's going to play a race. I don't know how many NASCAR cars are on the track at once, but say 30.
Used to be 43.
All right, well, say 43. Then you pretty much can get it in a lobby with 42 other people, and you all get a car, and then you do this big race. And what's interesting is everyone's mics are all together. Like, anytime, you want to say something to whatever car, you can say it. It's just a free for all. And there's these amazingly funny videos out there of these, because every one of them sounds like they're from like Alabama. They all have these super country accents, and they get into arguments with each other about the race. And it's gold, because they're like, "Hey, number 17, you motherfucker, you just put me in the fucking wall. Like, I'm gonna fucking get you kicked out of this lobby. You don't want to fuck with me, you some bitch."
This is actually how NASCAR is in real life too.
It's
maybe like if they could fight afterwards. If they could fight on the track afterwards, they totally would.
The shit they talk to each other is so great, because then he'd be like, "I didn't mean to put you in the wall, but if you gonna be a son of a bitch, you can meet me at the Walmart in fucking Illinois if you want to. And I'll guarantee you, motherfucker number 17, I'll be at the Walmart. You put me in the fucking wall." I mean, it's gold.
Bro,
it's
that's
gold.
exactly how it happens in real life. Like, I was as you know, whenever I was a lot younger, when I was a kid, I was a Jeff Gordon fan. And I haven't watched NASCAR since I was a kid, but that's how it was. That's exactly how it went in real life. Like, well, I didn't mean to put you in the wall, but if you want to meet after the race, we'll go down, Bo.
Yeah, I seen one. He's like, "Well, I told you, motherfucker, I was going high, and then you tried to pass me, and I went high, and you went into the wall. It's your fault." And I'm like, I don't know half the slang you're talking about, but if you want to laugh and burn, 30 minutes, just look that shit up, because there's a ton of them. They're all talking shit to each other.
Drive fast and eat ass.
It should be a South Park episode is what it should be.
And their idol, every one of them, is Dale Earnhardt.
So this guard, when I seen him, he reminded me of those guys from the video. But so the guards, they bring Michael to meet with Loomis, and Loomis informs him that he will be leaving Smith's Grove. We then see that Loomis has written a book on his time with Michael Myers and is traveling around promoting the book with the projector light in his face.
Yeah, and he hasn't. Yeah, glad you picked up on that too.
Yeah, I'm
I
like,
was
how
like,
are
that
you
would
not
be
like squinting or blind at this
an
point?
absolute fucking nightmare trying to go up there and do a entire speech, probably 45 minutes of talking with a projector light in your face, like of all things. You know, we used to play in a band, and just the stage lights alone can get really bright. Sometimes whenever there's really good lights, you can't even hardly see the crowd, or you'll be able to see like the first couple people in the front. I don't. This guy probably didn't see for 3 days.
Hey, you motherfucker, you better get that light out of my eyes before I put you in that fucking wall.
Fuck you, Bo.
Later that night, Scruffy White Guard and what appears to be his cousin are getting a new female inmate out of her room to rape her. They decide to take her to Michael's room to abuse both Michael and the girl, and as they enter his room, he is sitting at a desk making a mask from paper and tape. They proceed to start talking. They proceed to start taking turns raping the girl on Michael's bed while shouting at him to join in on the rape. Michael shows them no attention, which aggravates them more. One of them then grabs one of his masks on the wall and puts it on his face, which grabs Michael's attention. He then gets up and begins to beat both men to death. So the double rape that was going on 4 feet away did not bother Michael Myers.
Nope.
But when that dude touched his mask, now we've crossed the line.
Yep. I picked that up too. He didn't flinch over the rape.
Nope.
And
didn't even look.
What made this guy think that this was a good idea? Knowing his past, what's take somebody in his room with him not tied up or anything, and let's have a double gangbang rape in his room.
I actually hate this rape scene.
Yeah, this is they
it's too long.
Show a lot.
It's too much.
Yeah, they do show a lot, but it makes the kill a little better. I will say that.
I felt though after this rape scene, like the kill should have been better than it was.
Now I wonder what happened because they
rip their arms.
They
off
don't show what he does with the girl that was in his room.
Yeah, I wondered.
I assume he kills her because he kills everybody. But is there any room in Michael for a soft spot? He was bullied as a kid. My answer is going to be no. I don't think he did. I think he killed her. But I'm glad that they at least didn't show him killing her after having to endure what she did.
I'm also very glad that white trashy guard dude died with his pants down in his yellow ass underwear.
Bro, I love this kill too. Like when he gets slammed up against the wall, like his skull, and that little squirt, like the perfect amount of blood squirts out the back. Looks like a artery or capillary in the back of his skull just busted when he got slammed, and it just spits out this perfect amount of blood up in the air.
So Michael ends up murdering everyone on the night staff at Smith's Grove and escaping the facility. Next, we see him show up to a truck stop where he ultimately ends up murdering a trucker named Grizzly Joe in order to steal his clothes. And Michael now has his famous blue coveralls. We now jump back to the Haddonfield on October 31st. We meet the Strode family during their breakfast. I thought that because we met the Myers family during breakfast and then we meet the Strode family also during breakfast, I think that they did this to show the polar opposites of this family. It's the same scene, the same setting, the same stuff going on, but you have pure chaos and hate. And then in this one, you actually have like love and caring and
a functional family.
Yes, very. Yeah. I think that they did this introduction to both of these families, which we find out one of these people was there for both of these incidents. She's been a member of both these families, and you just see that there is such a polar opposite of these.
Yeah, that's a good catch. Yeah. I mean, I didn't really put that comparison in, but it's definitely a lot different of a situation.
Because she even says too, yeah, what's her name? Cynthia Strode is making eggs, and somebody comes down and goes to eat a bagel, which is what they were eating at the same shit that happened at the Myers house. And she says, "No, thank you. I don't want eggs." And the only person that ends up eating the eggs is the mom who cooked them, just like in the previous scene. I mean, it's literally an exact copy of the scene, except for how dysfunctional the characters are.
Yeah, that's definitely two different worlds.
Yeah, so they are pretty much your average upper middle class family of three. You have Mason, the loving husband and father and real estate agent. Then you have Cynthia Strode. She's like the loving and caring stay at home wife and mother, which, by the way, she's played by fucking Dee Wallace, which was super cool. And finally, we have Lori, the 17-year-old daughter who seems to be a good student, stays out of trouble, and has a great relationship with her parents. While Mason and Lori leave for work and school, Mason asks her to drop off a packet at an abandoned home in the neighborhood that he is trying to sell. Lori and the kind of the kids around the neighborhood that she babysits, Tommy Doyle, walk to the house and slip the packet into the mail slot of the abandoned home, where we then see that Michael's standing on the other side of the door watching Lori. The old house is actually the former Myers residence. Michael has returned to retrieve his mask and knife, which he had hidden in the floor after the murders when he was 10 years old. And now we have a fully assembled Michael Myers.
Yep, an hour into the movie. I don't know if it's a full hour, but
It's
it's
about
like
56 minutes until Laurie Strode actually appears in the movie. An hour.
Yeah. It's weird having a Halloween with Laurie Strode not in the first hour of it, but even more weird is Michael Myers not being fully assembled.
Yep.
They have his full adult size and his overalls that he killed from Joe, whatever the fuck his name is.
Joe Grizzly.
I was thinking when he killed him, like, he obviously went in there to steal some clothes, and what kind of luck did he get walking into some other massive guy that he could fit clothes into?
When they fought too, that was a big
fight.
a
good scene. They literally destroyed that entire bathroom stall. And I actually remember a long time ago I seen Rob Zombie talking about that scene, that they're both really big dudes, and they legit like fucked that bathroom stall up in there doing that scene.
That's cool. We jump over to Laurie's school where we meet her two best friends. We have Annie Beckett, who is the outgoing and mischievous daughter of the local sheriff, and Linda Vanderklok, the head cheerleader who is very confident in her looks and kind of bitchy. And I just want to say, here's our Delilah.
Yep, I was going to say very conceited instead of confident. That's what I got in there. There's a fine line between those two, and that she definitely falls on the conceited side. But yes, she is Delilah.
Next, we see the three girls leaving school. They begin to walk down the sidewalk and into their neighborhood when they suddenly notice Michael watching them from across the street. Linda and Annie begin to tease and antagonize him when Annie finally yells that her father is the sheriff. Michael then kind of turns around and disappears. Just then, Annie's dad, Sheriff Brackett, pulls up and offers them a ride. Lori and Linda decline, and all three girls kind of split and go their own separate ways to their houses. We then see that Michael has followed Lori home and is now watching the house.
Bro, how many times do you think Annie used my dad's the sheriff? You can tell by the way she says it. Like, she probably says that 3 times a week to somebody. Everybody who pisses her off. My dad's the sheriff.
So Smith Grove has now informed Dr. Loomis of Michael's escape. He meets with them to try to tell them that Michael is most likely heading to Haddonfield. They don't really take him seriously, so he decides to go after Michael himself. We see Loomis pull up to the Haddonfield Cemetery and meets up with the caretaker, who's, hey, fucking Captain Spaulding.
Sid, hey.
Yeah, I totally forgot that he had a little appearance in this movie. Didn't remember that at all, and I was stoked to see him in it.
Yeah, really glad that we got some Captain Spaulding in here. The second week in a row we've had a Sid Haig in a movie.
Upon walking through the graves, they come across a dead animal placed on a very crudely made cross, and it's in place of this missing tombstone. Loomis immediately knows that Michael is back in Haddonfield and has stolen his mother's grave marker.
Bro, just imagine this. The night before, Michael Myers shows up in Haddonfield. He creeps into the cemetery, where he probably takes a long time because it's a big cemetery to find his mom's grave. And then he spends the next 4 hours hunting a coyote so he can dismember it and weave together a cross to put it on her grave. Like, where the fuck did he get a coyote from?
I was picturing how odd it would be to be driving down the road at night and see a man in a blue jumpsuit with a mask carrying a full-scale concrete tombstone on his shoulder.
I would be impressed.
I would be like, that's got to be styrofoam.
Yeah.
Like, that thing's fucking
It's
huge.
a Halloween decoration.
And he's just walking down the street with it.
So he did all this in one night. He escaped. He killed a guy and stole his overalls.
He walked 100 miles,
100 miles. Maybe he stole his fucking truck. I don't know. I mean, he can take the mask off and look normal.
He did not steal his truck. Rob Zombie said that
he did
not
fast.
want Michael Myers to drive in this one because he drove in previous ones and it didn't make sense.
Yeah, it doesn't make sense.
Yeah, he didn't steal it.
Well, he gets 100 miles walking. I'm going to assume that he killed the coyote on the way during the 100-mile walk and went ahead and got across together. Got to this massive cemetery where he had to find his mom. Stole the headstone that probably weighed it's a big headstone. That thing probably weighed 400 pounds, if not more. And then carries it all the way back and has to track down his old house. That's a lot to do in one night. That's impressive.
He's a busy man. It is now Halloween night, and we see that Linda and her boyfriend. I meant to correct this. I wrote him as Steve.
Where'd you get Steve from?
I don't know. I don't know, man. I caught it this time.
What is with you writing random names?
I don't even know who Steve is.
Well, you know what?
I caught it, and I was like, "Oh fuck! I gotta find." I don't remember how I caught it, but I remember I was reading, and I was like, "Wait a minute, his name's not Steve." I don't remember what it is now. I was like, "Oh, I gotta." Before we do this, I've got to go back in, and I've got to change it to Steve from Steve to whatever I found out his name was, and then I forgot, and now here I am again. 2 weeks later, I have made up a name for it is a boyfriend too. It's another boyfriend who gets killed. I don't know what his name is, but
nameless.
I named him Steve.
Well, he is the one character in the entire movie that I also couldn't find his fucking name and didn't hear anybody say it.
Oh, his name's Bob.
Bob.
So I found out because it's on the kill list.
Okay. Well, that's good because I have
Steve?
him as Linda's boyfriend. I don't know. Steve and Bob are both generic white guy names. It's like the two
Steve
most
Bob,
generic.
They sound exactly the same.
I mean,
tomato.
They are like the two. Like if you're playing Family Feud and the question you're in the buzzer round against the other family, and the question is generic white guy names. Steve and Bob are going to be the first two answers on the board.
Well, I don't know where
up there with Steve John. From. Maybe John in there too, but.
Is there Steve, another character named Steve?
No, there's not. You have completely created a character name.
Again, Larry. This is Larry all over again.
Well, at least last time, the actor playing the character's name was Larry. I'm not sure what this actor's name is. I don't think it's Steve. I don't know. It's like a 10% chance it's Steve. It's such a generic name.
He's fucking Steve for right now because I'm not going to remember to correct it. But Steve are heading into the old Myers house to do some old underage drinking and fornication. And while walking into the house, we see that Michael's upstairs just chilling on the balcony. Just sitting right out front on the front balcony.
He lets him finish too. He gets a good watch in.
Oh yeah, I can bring that up here in a minute. So after Steve's below average sexual performance, this is sad.
Who the fuck asks if you have to ask the girl on a scale of 1 to 10 right after, when you blew your load too quick and you were on the bottom, you didn't even do anything, you're probably pretty far down there on that scale of
You're
1 to
getting
10.
booed off stage, man.
It's like, at least to tell me it was big. There's something.
But Linda demands that he go to the van and grab more beer. Steve grabs a few cans and a very basic white sheet ghost costume. And on his way back upstairs, Michael slams him against a wall, picks him up by his neck, and stabs him in the heart, killing him instantly.
Pins him to the fucking wall. That's one thing. That's what I like the most about this kill. And it's one of my favorite kills from the movie because he doesn't just get stabbed in the heart. He literally pins him to the fucking wall with his knife and then just lets him hang there.
Well, one thing, I mean, you just kind of touched on this, but one thing I've noticed, because we just recently watched Part 7, The New Blood. So Jason does a lot of his kills like right before or during sex. Michael, at least in this version, is, he's, pretty nice, but he waits for everybody to finish up. Because there was somebody else previously in the movie that he let them fuck before. Oh, it's his sister.
His sister.
He let his sister and her boyfriend fuck, and then he killed them.
I think he interrupts Paul though, but
he does.
But which is a shame.
But he was
Paul.
in a hurry.
He's probably jealous.
It's time to get the plan in motion.
Probably seen Danielle Harris and got jealous.
She's fucking bad.
Yeah, Paul. I will get to that, but his death may have been worth it because he did get in. They did start.
Speaking of Paul, that actor actually, I think he's some kind of DJ or something, but he actually auditioned for the role of Steve, I think.
he auditioned for the role of this guy who's not even in the movie.
Well, that character, whatever his
Linda's
fucking name
boyfriend.
is, Linda's boyfriend. He auditioned for that role, but he didn't get it. He ended up getting Paul. They gave him Paul.
I thought you said his name was Bob.
Be fucking Bob, whatever. He auditioned for Bob and got. Wait, no, he auditioned for. Yeah, he auditioned for Bob and he got Paul. And I was like,
how lucky is that?
Like, well, poor him.
Yeah. They must have really liked him.
Well, I'm sure he didn't know Paul was going to be laying on top of a topless Danielle Harris. But man, I would like to see his.
He clearly didn't, or he would have been auditioning for that and not auditioning for Bob.
But yeah, anyway, so Michael puts on Steve's shitty ghost costume and he walks into the room where Linda is laying. Linda, of course, is being a bitch to whom she thinks is Steve. And she gets up, walks over and snatches his beer from him and turns to walk off. Michael then jerks the sheet off himself and grabs her by the throat, crushing her windpipe and killing her.
I love that they put the ghost kill in here.
Yeah,
it's a shout out to the original. Mm-hmm. The super simple OG first Halloween costume ever. The sheet over the white sheet ghost with the glasses. Don't forget the glasses. You got to be able to see through that sheet. I just wanted to shout that out.
Yeah, one thing though is Linda didn't realize that all of a sudden her boyfriend's 7 foot tall and fucking huge.
I mean, the guy she's with is pretty tall.
He ain't that damn tall.
He ain't that big. He's not
Michael's taking up almost the whole doorway. That guy didn't do that.
He is, because actually when Michael pins him up against the wall with the knife when he kills him, you can actually see how much taller he really is.
And it's huge. But anyway, so right after this, we see Loomis ain't fucking around. He heads to a gun shop and buys one of the biggest handguns you can get. We cut to Lori sitting on the porch with her parents. She is saying her goodbyes for the night because she is off to go babysit Tommy Doyle. Lori then hops in the car with Annie and drives off. Cynthia, her mom, then gets up and heads inside, leaving Mason on the porch to enjoy a cigarette.
And a knife.
Suddenly, we see Michael slash Mason's neck and rush into the house. He begins to go after Cynthia, who is in a panic. He shows her a picture of Lori and she screams no, and he then breaks her neck.
This is a truth commercial. That's what this is.
For cigarettes?
For cigarettes. For anti-cigarettes.
What happens to everyone who
is-
smokes cigarettes?
Yeah.
You will be murdered.
This is what happens, Mason, when you smoke cigarettes. And I'm going to kill your wife for all the secondhand smoke she's probably taken in over the years, because she's practically already dead. You've already killed her.
You know who?
This is for you, Mason.
You know what kills more people than cigarettes?
Candy corn.
You goddamn
Candy
right.
fucking corn.
Candy corn kills more people than cigarettes, car wrecks, alcohol, fentanyl, all put together.
Yeah.
So
War. We
war.
got to put war in there.
Definitely. So Lori is now at the Doyle home watching Tommy. And I want to point this out because I don't know if you caught this. This was huge when I realized this. Tommy Doyle is dressed up as Otis from House of a Thousand Corpses.
What?
Yeah.
Is he?
Yes. I even went, and once I noticed this, it drove me nuts. I went and pulled up a picture of Otis during the ritual when they're burning that girl's body.
Does he have like the upside down cross and stuff?
That's
on
the
his
only
head?
thing he doesn't have. He has the red like outfit with the hood. He has the same exact paint face. He doesn't have the cross, but you can't tell if he has the cross or not because Tommy Doyle has long ass bangs down to his fucking eyes, so we can't see if there's the cross. So then I pulled it up and I looked, and it's the exact same makeup. And then a little bit later on, during my research of interesting stuff about the movie, the very last fact about the movie was Tommy Doyle was dressed up as Otis from the end of House of a Thousand Corpses.
Oh, that's fucking awesome.
Yes.
The only thing that could have been cooler than that is if they had him wearing Otis's costume previously in the night, which I don't think would have been appropriate.
The only thing that Tommy Doyle didn't have was the chest. Remember, Otis has the chest on underneath the red robe.
Too. Yeah.
No, he has he doesn't have the Santa robe on, and during the ritual, he has like this really cool, like I don't know, like gothic, but it's solid red robe.
Yeah, no, but he just needed to find I can't remember her name now because it's been a whole week. But her dad that gets killed, his cut
Willis.
off, his Willis.
Yep.
Yeah, he needed Willis's cut off face and body. And it would have been a lot more recognizable. That's awesome, though.
That's dope.
I've never caught that as many times as I've seen this movie.
I don't think I would have noticed it if I hadn't just watched A House of a Thousand Corpses.
Yeah, that's cool.
I've never noticed that.
It's almost like the same guy directed it.
Almost.
And his wife was in both movies.
Where did Rob go? He's still, I guess, looking for that dirty top hat.
Yeah, we got a secret to tell you guys. We actually could only afford to pay him for the first 30 seconds of the show. We're sorry.
We paid him in dirt.
We did. He's actually playing with it right now out back. I can hear him rolling around violently in the dirt.
So Annie calls Lori to tell her that she is bringing over Lindsay Wallace, the little girl who she's babysitting just a few houses down. She wants to drop Lindsay off so she can pretty much like leave Lindsay with Lori so she could go back to the Wallace house and fuck her boyfriend Paul. Lori agrees and tells them to head on over. Dr. Loomis tracks down Sheriff Brackett and tells him about Michael. He doesn't really take him serious, but he kind of invites him to meet him at the station and get a little more info on the situation. Loomis tells him about Michael's baby sister, whose existence is not publicly known, and that he believes Michael is after her. This gets Brackett's attention because he knows who adopted Angel Myers after Deborah's suicide. He calls the Strode residence and gets no answer, and they rush out of the station and head to Lori's parents' house. Annie is now back at the Wallace's house with her boyfriend, whose name doesn't matter because he's about to get like 90-second screen time. Was
Paul.
it Paul?
It's Paul.
Yeah, whatever. He barely in the fucking movie. I didn't even look him up. They are making out on the couch when we see Michael walk up behind them. Michael picks him up by his neck and immediately stabs him. Annie attempts to escape but is forced to try and fight off Michael. She is quickly subdued and dragged into the next room.
You think that Michael didn't finish her off because he felt bad?
I think he didn't finish her off because she's Danielle Harris.
That's what I'm saying. Like he's seen a topless Danielle Harris, and he just couldn't bring himself to it.
You know what's better than that is I think her face is our best asset. She has got an extremely
I
pretty
agree.
face.
She is a. I don't have very many celebrity crushes. I don't follow celebrities very much, but she is one of them. And from what I know of her, she's really awesome down there. She loves horror movies, and she has a beautiful face. I think her face are better than her breasts.
I do like follow her on like social media and stuff, and she does do a ton of horror stuff. She's awesome. But interesting enough, she actually has a horror podcast.
Oh, she's a competitor then.
She is, but I don't care.
Well, yeah, we'll just have to get over that. Yeah, but I agree with you. Beautiful face.
She's awesome. Her personality's great. She's gorgeous. Fantastic. 10 out of 10. I love her. If she wanted to get married tomorrow, I'd do it.
Yeah, Paul, probably, it was worth it for him. His death was probably worth it.
So after this, Lori decides to take Lindsay home. She leaves Tommy at his house to watch this movie, and she walks Lindsay a few houses down. Upon opening the door, they find Annie bloody, beaten, but alive on the floor. Her boyfriend, though, fucking fuckface Paul, is hanging from the staircase with a pumpkin on his head.
This was jealousy, I'm telling you. Michael was like, damn, that girl is very pretty.
I don't blame him.
And I'm going to kill this guy.
You know what'll impress her is if I kill her boyfriend and hang him from the stairs.
And put a jack-o'-lantern over his head, which is what I thought was the coolest part. Like, how much time do you think Michael spent rigging him up in the air while Annie's laying there, like, dying? And it took some time. I don't even know how he was rigged up to the ceiling. You have to get out, like, the stepladder. Sure, that's all it took for him.
I don't know. I mean, he's a very... he doesn't really care about time. Like, we've just seen his whole setup of the night before with the fox and the stealing the tombstone. And
maybe he can freeze time. Maybe or evil slows time. And he had time to carve this pumpkin.
I don't know, but Lindsay Wallace, she runs back to Tommy's and Lori calls 911. It is revealed that Michael is still in the house and Annie tries to warn her. Sheriff Brackett gets the 911 call on the radio and he and Loomis rush to the scene. Michael then grabs Lori from behind, but she kind of manages to escape and she makes it back to Tommy Doyle's house. Once inside, her and the kids head upstairs with Michael close behind them. 2 police officers arrive and begin to search the house, where Michael ultimately kills them both. He then breaks down the door and grabs Lori and carries her off. And one thing that kind of bugged me was one scene, Lori is like fighting him in the hallway while he's carrying her. The next scene, he's walking out the front door and Lori's fucking passed out.
Yeah. I even rewound that actually.
This is like Jerry.
I thought in my notes that I had missed him knock her out. So I rewound it and it does not show him ever knock her out. Obviously, he knocks her the fuck out, but it doesn't show it. We do get this really awesome shot. Shout out to the cinematography. It's like his silhouette carrying her down the street in the dark. Thought that was a really cool shot. Yeah, they don't show it.
It just reminded me of Jerry from last week. Like he was awake and then he was just out. He was just knocked out.
Also, loved the scene of her in the bathroom with the kids and the cops like come out and you're like, no, you know she opens that door like it's gonna go bad, but then you're like, well, there's cops clearing the house, so maybe he rolled out when he heard the police. Nope.
Out of all the doors to hide behind, you picked the glass door though. Like,
yeah, well,
geez.
She picked the glass door, so when that cop got killed, we got that awesome shot of the blood splatter.
She did it
from inside of the bathroom. Yes, she wanted to see it. She's a little sick too. She is a Myers technically.
So Loomis and Brackett, they pull up to the Wallace house where Brackett finds his daughter Annie with like multiple stab wounds. Loomis runs out to the street where the two children run up to him and tell him that Michael took Lori. Lori wakes up in the basement of the old Myers house with the body of Linda laying close by and the missing tombstone. Michael walks out of the shadows and kneels in front of Lori. He removes his mask and he shows her a picture of him and her as kids together. Lori doesn't really understand what he's like trying to tell her, but she sees Michael's knife like laying on the ground. She quickly grabs it and stabs him in the neck. And I'd say she must have stabbed him with a fucking sleep knife because he passes out immediately.
Them damn sleep knives. She
Yeah.
must have slipped some candy corn in them. He got fucked up and passed out.
She put some fucking Ambien on that shit, and he was done.
His little grave site that he makes for his mom, and I don't know why he's got Linda's body thrown on it.
It kind of resembled her a little bit.
Yeah, I was wondering if that was done for that reason, or if he just happened to kill her there.
I used to see my mom naked all the time.
He does do some weird shit with his touching his sister when he was a kid, but
candy corns.
And yeah, it was the candy corn. But he has these jack-o'-lanterns carved out, laying all around. And my question is, do you think Michael carves the jack-o'-lanterns? Like, do you think he spends time carving these?
He's got the knife to do it. Yeah, I do.
I mean, or do you think he just steals them off people's porches? Like, is he that guy? Is Sam going to show up and kill him for stealing people's pumpkins? Or
the crossover we need, Sam versus Michael.
Yes, you have disrespected Halloween. You stole somebody's jack-o'-lantern before Halloween ended, or blew it out. You stole it and it went out, and that's against the rules. I hate this part of the movie. I'm just going to say that. This is the only thing in this movie that I really hate, is whenever he takes off his mask and he bows his head down to her. And I get what they're trying to do. I understand what they're trying to do. But it almost insinuates that he is capable of feeling some type of sympathy or love. And as we've seen throughout all the other Michael Myers movies and this Michael Myers up until this point, he'll fucking kill anybody. Like, he doesn't care. Like, once he gets in that mood, he even kills Ishmael and the guy who was nice to him the entire time. Yeah, and he's good to that guy, or that guy's good to him his whole
for 15 years.
And I loved that kill. That kill for me was the kill that showed that I didn't want to see Ishmael die, but I was happy they did it because it showed Michael Myers will kill anybody. Like, he has no sympathy for anybody, even this guy who's been good to him for years. And now he is taking off his mask and kneeling down to her. I didn't like that. Gotta say, it's the only part of this movie I didn't like.
So she ends up escaping the basement with Michael pursuing her. She runs from the house like into the backyard, where she ends up falling pretty damn hard right into the deep end of an empty pool. It's pretty funny.
Those damn pools.
If you would have put like some blooper music over top of that, it'd have been like one of them YouTube videos. People just eat shit. Michael then kind of corners her in the pool, but Loomis shows up and confronts him. Michael ignores Loomis's pleas, and he ends up shooting Michael 3 times. Once Michael goes down, Loomis ends up helping Lori up, and they walk back to the cop car. And this is where I'm now going to complain. I fucking hate that "was that the boogeyman" line. Like, that's cringy to me.
Yeah,
I hated it.
I agree. That was cringy. I didn't hate it as much as him like bowing down to her. Like, it was pretty bad. You got to think at this point, Michael, he's got to feel pretty betrayed. Like, his sister, I guess, in this version of the movie, that he was going to, I guess, bow down to, and then she was just going to be like, okay, let's be siblings and be best friends.
Let's be killers together.
And then Michael Myers just never killed anybody again. He lived a normal life. Like, I don't know what that was supposed to be, but she stabs him, and then Dr. Loomis, who was his only the person he's seen every day for after his mom died, it was the only person that came to see him every single day. And you can tell he recognizes Dr. Loomis's voice when he comes up behind him. Like, he recognizes him because he turns and looks at him, but then he keeps going. He has been betrayed twice, so he's got to be pretty fucking pissed at this point.
She's like, Michael, we can be brother and sister, and you can touch my legs sexually, and It'd not be that weird.
Yeah, I won't get mad at you like my other bitch sister.
We'll do lines of candy corn together. So just when they think it is over, Michael breaks the glass and pulls Lori from the car. He drags her inside where Loomis confronts him again. He ends up like squeezing Loomis's head and then like throws him to the ground. Like he doesn't kill him, but he like fucks him up. And Michael attempts to find Lori kind of throughout the house. She ends up like hiding in the wall, then she ends up like hiding in the attic. And he begins to like tear the ceiling out looking for her. And as Lori crawls throughout the attic, she ends up like falling through this weak spot and she hits the floor. Bro, when she hits the floor and she gets up, like that shit fucks her up. You see like her face is covered in blood and she can barely stand
like
up.
Broke her nose and shit falling out of the.
She fell like from like, 10 feet, 9 feet or something.
Bro, what that fall
up.
did more than Michael Myers had this entire time. Like this is really outside of him like knocking her out, which we don't see, and him throwing her once. I'm pretty sure up until this point he hasn't really fucked her up that much, and should that fall out of that ceiling really did her in.
The Myers house beat her ass.
It did.
Like the house is evil, maybe.
It did.
So she comes across like Loomis's gun, and when Michael like spots her, he's like down the hallway. He kind of ends up he like stands in the doorway and kind of stares at her. He like drops his little fucking stick he has, and then he runs full fucking speed at her, tackling her and causing both of them to go through this like second story window. Lori awakens with her and Michael laying in the front yard. She climbs on top of him and points the gun at his head. She pulls the trigger 3 times with the gun not firing. On the 4th pull, we hear the gun go off and Lori is suddenly covered in Michael's blood. We see this close-up of like Lori's blood-soaked face as she lets out a blood-curdling scream. And that is the end.
That Scout Taylor Compton gets a fucking A+ on the Scream Queens test, undoubtedly. That scream at the end after I loved that ending. The only thing I will say I hated about the ending was Dr. Loomis, the whole thing they did with him, because he wasn't supposed to die. Like he's in almost all the original Halloweens, and the same guy plays him. Which I will say is something we haven't brought up. The guy that they got to play Dr. Loomis, I thought, did an incredible job playing that character.
Yeah,
that's something
I loved him.
I meant to bring up earlier. The casting on him was great. But first, he gets his skull like crushed. Like he starts bleeding out the eyes. And I'm like, well, you can't kill Dr. Loomis.
He's not in the second one?
I think he is in the second one.
He doesn't die.
He doesn't die. No, yeah. I'm getting at that. So at first I'm like, well, what the fuck? You can't kill him. But then he somehow miraculously survives getting his head crushed. Like you hear his skull like break. And I thought the whole him grabbing onto Michael's leg was just kind of cringy. I didn't like it.
Michael drags him like a little child.
He does.
Yeah.
He does. But I hated that part. I'm glad he lived because he was supposed to live. I wish they would have did some different things with him. But the whole Lori with the gun and when it goes off, because it doesn't go off the first couple of times. So it's going to go off, but at that point, you don't know which squeeze of the trigger is going to do it. And when it does finally go off, the blood splatter that we get in her face and the scream we get that follows that is fucking awesome. Thought it was a great way to end this, in my opinion.
Yeah, this is the unrated ending. This was the original ending, and it didn't test well. So they scrapped it and did another ending, which is the ending that most people know. And that ending is so Michael gets a hold of Lori, and he's like, I don't know if he's gonna take her somewhere or something. He's just got her, and the police show up, like Brackett and some cops show up, and they all got their guns like pointed at him. And Loomis actually gets up and comes back over there, and he convinces Michael to let Lori go. And he does, and then when he lets Lori go, he also drops his knife. He's like giving up. And Loomis gets Lori, and he's like kind of taking her away. And as soon as they get kind of clear from the area, the police just unload their guns on Michael Myers. And that is, I believe, the normal ending that most people know.
Well, I have seen that ending because it is on the DVD. I forgot about that. It's been a long time since I've seen it. Kind of forgot how that happens. Yeah, I don't like that. I'm glad that we got the director's cut that has the ending that we have. So I think her shooting him in the face and being covered in blood is a lot cooler than Michael Myers giving himself up to the police.
Yeah.
Not only that, but he has like sympathy and love for his sister, so he gives her up and he's going to turn himself into the police. Like, that's stupid. I don't like that.
Yeah, I like the unrated ending much better. It's more, I don't know, emotional. It's more raw kind of feeling, especially that reaction that she lets out when his blood hits her face. I think that that's a far better ending. I'm really surprised that didn't do well in test screenings, and then the other ending did well. I don't know.
Where did they test this at?
The other ending seems more like a generic good guys win, bad guys lose ending.
Mm-hmm.
And, we still have a similar outcome in the unrated ending, but it makes it more personal that she's the one who kills Michael and how she does it.
Well, it makes the second movie make a lot more sense too, because she's really fucked up by that.
Yeah.
And yeah, I 100% agree. I don't know where they screened this ending and it got bad reviews. I think this ending's way better. I'm convinced that Scout Taylor Compton got the part based off of her ability, the way she acts at the end. Like that scream with the way she freaks out and screams, like when that blood splatters, because you could tell it surprises her. It's almost like when they shot this scene, they didn't tell her how many clicks it was going to take before it went off. I'm sure they did, but she plays it off so well. Like it literally, that blood splattering across her face, you can tell really shocks her in that scene. And the scream that we get after that is awesome.
Yeah, they put her through a ton of auditions. Apparently it was, way more than the normal would be. And even though they did that, Rob Zombie still says that she was always his first choice. So if she was her first choice, I'm not exactly sure why she had to do so many auditions. Like, it was such a difficult role for her to obtain. But she does phenomenal. She does really good in this movie.
Yeah, I agree. I think as much as people, the diehard fans of the original, probably hate her as Laurie Strode just because they don't like this movie, I thought she was a great Laurie Strode.
I think she's better than Jamie Lee Curtis, but
I think she's.
I know a lot of people are going to be mad about that, but I am not a Jamie Lee Curtis fan, fortunately.
Well, yeah, my opinion on that.
I like Jamie Lee Curtis in H2O. I'll admit that. I like her. She's really good in H2O. She plays that part really well because she's kind of plays like this bitchy principal of this prestige school, and I'm like, that's perfect. That's perfect for her. That's how she is in real life.
I like Jamie Lee Curtis in this Halloween. Not in it.
Not in
it. Sitting at home on the couch, bitching about the mosquitoes in South Carolina.
Yeah, she did not like being here in 2018.
It's like just very, very smug attitude about that. But yeah, definitely. But the better Laurie Strode, in my opinion.
But anyway, we'll talk about a little bit of interesting facts about this movie. Tyler Mane is the tallest actor to portray Michael Myers at the height of 6'8". Yeah, he's pretty tall. I thought he was at least 7 foot, but he ain't quite 7 foot.
Well, they probably put him in some boots though that made him about 7 foot.
He's fucking big though.
Yeah, he's big dude. He's fucking he's big dude. Just put it like that. So
Emma Stone auditioned for the part of Laurie Strode. That would have been weird.
Yeah.
She's not ever been in a horror movie that I can think of. She just doesn't really seem like a horror movie type of actress to me.
She's a big name too.
I guess she's been in Zombieland, but I wouldn't consider Zombieland like a horror movie.
No, that's a comedy.
Kind of a horror comedy. It's just really mostly just a comedy.
Yeah, that would have been.
I like her, but
yeah, I don't have anything against her. I think she's a great actress. It would have been interesting. I don't think she would have done necessarily better, but it would have been interesting.
So Rob Zombie originally wanted Danielle Harris to play Laurie and Sherry Moon to play Linda. Bro, you wanted your 30-something-year-old fucking wife who played a mom of all these, a mom in this movie of 3 very well, very believable. She's probably like fucking 40 years old.
Yeah, she played the
You wanted her to
40-year-old
play a
stripper.
17-year-old?
Yeah, she played the 40-year-old stripper mom perfect. She did a great job playing that part.
If she would have played Linda, with this movie, everything else about this movie being exactly the same, if Sherry would have played Linda, I'd give this fucking movie a 1.
I wouldn't be able to take it serious.
Because that's so laughable.
Yeah.
It's not even close.
Yeah, I don't know what he sees or is trying to convince his wife of, but she is clearly not 17 years old.
No.
Yeah, I thought you were going to say Lori,
she don't even look 21. She don't look 25.
I don't think Danielle Harris is really Laurie Strode, but I thought they could have gotten away with it. I don't think she acts like Laurie Strode.
Danielle Harris was 29 when they filmed this movie.
Yeah, Danielle Harris.
So she ain't no 17 neither, but
she's believable. She played a teenage, older teenage girl very well.
Yeah, she pulled it off. Now, Sherry Moon Zombie, being well past her beginning of middle age stage here, not playing 17.
She's old enough to have a 17-year-old.
Absolutely.
Older than 17.
She has a 17-year-old in this fucking movie. Judith Myers.
Yeah, that's I'm so glad they didn't do that, because there's no way I could take this movie seriously. And you think my jokes about having her in all of his movies are bad now? Had he did that, I probably wouldn't have been able to take anything after that serious from him, like period. Yeah.
So the film was mostly shot in South Pasadena, California, the same area where the original was filmed. The scene where the 3 girls are walking home and they see Michael watching them, Michael is actually standing in front of the original Strode house. I thought that was very interesting.
You mentioned that in the beginning, and that was something I was going to ask you about if you didn't touch on. So they shot it in the same neighborhood.
They did. There's a couple, most of the scenes from the same area as the original is during this walk home. The 3 girls actually walk past, also I believe they walk past the 2 houses that they're babysitting in the original. Like just a couple houses down. They actually like walk past those houses as well. So pretty much that like main street that they're on in that chunk of the movie was the street that the original movie was the finale, or more of the second half of the movie takes place actually on that street.
That's cool. Yeah, I've never noticed that.
Yeah, I wouldn't noticed either, because in every Halloween movie, especially these like reboots and stuff, all the neighborhoods kind of have the similar vibe, similar feel, and they're really hard to tell apart. I don't look at the houses so detailed enough to, say, oh, I know that's from the first movie. Yeah, I'm not that into the Halloween movies to where I would have ever known that.
Yeah, I think that's really cool fact. I'm glad they did that.
This movie is said to be the inspiration for 17-year-old Jacob Evans, who killed his mother and sister in October of 2012. In his written confession, he claimed to have watched the movie 3 times the week of the murders. So there was somebody out there that watched this movie and was like, I should do that. That's scary.
People are so, I mean, that's mental illness, man. I watched a documentary called A Glitch in the Matrix. I think it was on Hulu, maybe. I was bored. I had like an hour or 2 to kill about a week ago, and there was a guy who got super into the Matrix and was convinced that we lived in the Matrix, and he thought the way to prove that was to kill his parents, which he did. He killed them with a shotgun. He's actually in the documentary talking from prison about how in a fucked up place he was at that time, and how obsessed with this movie he got. Like, he watched it every day. And unfortunately, I think some more conservative news try to blame the movies for that. With this being a horror movie, I'm sure that there was some controversy over that, but The Matrix isn't a horror movie. And that's just proof that, if you get if you have mental illness, you know, you need treatment. You can't blame it on a video game or a movie. When you need help, you need help.
Well, you also you can't not let the other 8 billion people on the planet enjoy something because one kid in Texas decided to take it too far because obviously there's something wrong with him and do something like this. You can't protect the whole world from what one person might do. I mean, you'd have to get rid of everything because I'm sure that everything in this world has caused somebody to kill somebody or hurt somebody. So, but
You think of all the music that we wouldn't have, and all the movies and
we wouldn't have
all the
anything.
Pop culture. Yeah,
everything would be white and gray, and like it would, it'd be
like The Giver.
Yeah,
like the Giver.
I wanted to include that though because I'd actually never heard that. I'm surprised I hadn't heard that because there's some people out there who want to get rid of horror movies because of shit like this. I thought I would have heard about it, but I had never heard it, and I thought it was kind of interesting.
Yeah, that's stupid.
The knife Michael uses as a kid is a 10-inch Vicronox. That's hard to say. With a rosewood handle. The knife that he uses when he is older, which is, remember, supposed to be the same knife, is actually the 12-inch model. So as he gets bigger, the knife gets bigger.
Well, I'm sure they did it for the purposes of him being smaller, holding that 12-inch knife probably looked really funny. That's such a really big knife for a 10-year-old to be supposedly butchering people with.
So on to kill count and ratings. So the kill count for this movie, we're covering the unrated version, so I'm only going to do the unrated version because there's a different kill count for the other version. But the kill count for this movie is 22. We have Wesley, who's the bully, Ronnie, Steve. There is a Steve. Who's Steve? Who's the third kill?
Maybe it was Steve.
Who's Steve? No, this is the third kill in the movie. I got him listed by
Steve
when it happened.
The third kill in the movie is
Steve
what's
is
her name's boyfriend?
Judith's boyfriend. Well, son of a bitch.
No, what did I have? I got his name fucked up then. I thought his name was Wesley.
No, Wesley's the bully.
Okay. So, see, here's why I had a hard time when I looked up the cast for this because I didn't hear her say his name. So I looked up the cast, and because he plays this like 70s long haired, like probably average teenage kid in the 70s, 80s. I guess that was more the 70s. He's a lot older now, and he doesn't have long hair, obviously. So that IMDb, I was looking at faces, trying to match it to his face, and yeah, I guess we both fucked up a name.
Well, if you listen to this show for accuracy,
name accuracy, names, we're good at everything else.
On accuracy on names, you've come to the wrong place.
I stated in the first episode that this was going to happen quite often, at least on my side. I haven't named anybody who wasn't even in the movie yet, which has happened on this podcast.
As always, next year.
But yeah. Well, I technically hadn't messed up though because I never said anything about Wesley.
No, so your mess up was a real person.
So his name's Steve.
His name is Steve.
Okay.
Number 4 is Judith. Then the nurse, Nurse Wynn, Deborah Myers, Security Guard 1, Security Guard 2, Security Guard 3, Security Guard 4, Nurse Gloria, Guard 5, Guard 6, Ishmael Cruz, Joe Grizzly, Bob, Linda, Mason Strode, Cynthia, Paul, and then we have Officer Lowry and Deputy Charles.
And that's all just the people who died. So we get a pass at messing up some names.
Yeah,
there's a lot of people.
22 people that have died. Favorite kill. So I did, I was thinking about the, there's a lot, 22 people, and I got to pick one. So what I did was, because in my opinion they were so different, I personally picked a young Michael kill and an older Michael kill.
Well, you should have told me you were doing that, but it just so happened so did I.
Look at that.
I didn't pick a favorite. I picked a favorite, and then I picked a secondary favorite because of what my favorite is, which I'll explain in a minute. So yeah, I did the same thing.
Well, look at that.
Because my favorite kill is one of his kid kills. So I added adult Michael Myers, my favorite adult Michael Myers kill too.
Well, they were so different, and then I'm like, man, am I gonna say like my favorite kill is the 10-year-old Michael Myers kill in the Michael Myers movie?
I
was like, man, let me just split them up because they're so fucking different, and that's just weird.
Yeah, we went through the exact same thought process because my best kill ended up being 10-year-old Michael Myers, so I had to add a adult Michael Myers kill in there too.
So my young Michael kill is Wesley Rhodes, which is the bully with the tree branch. And we already kind of touched on most of it earlier, but it's so brutal, it's so raw, it goes on for a long time. As much as I love all of his kills as a kid, I have a real hard time, but this one is the one that when I think about this movie, this is the scene I think about every time.
That's a good kill.
This stuck out to me when I first seen it. Every time I watch it, it's like, not quite watching it for the first time, but like watching it for like the second or third time because I forget how long it is. I forget that whole part where Michael kind of pauses and he's like pleading, and it's almost like Michael's going to just let him go. He's like looking at the paper, and then he's like, nope. And he goes right back to just, laying into him.
Yeah.
And he doesn't, one thing I love about it is he doesn't finish it off like most movies where he just boom, one final blow. It's multiple final blows. Like it just keeps going on.
Yeah, you see his rage, and it's his first kill. It's his first kill ever. And at least in this movie, in Michael Myers' life, his first kill that we know about. One thing I will say that I loved about that kill is it set the tone for the movie.
So what is your young Michael kill?
Mine is going to be Steve. Now we know his name's Steve. Steve getting beat with the baseball bat.
It's good.
It was a very brutal kill. Every time I think back at this movie, it's one of the kills that I think of. And I love the aneurysm part. I think adds to it so much. It just, there's just something that adds depth to the kill and it adds realism. Like, Michael pauses after he does the initial shot and he's kind of confused, maybe not confused, but he stands back and like lets him have this aneurysm for a minute. And then he just fucking goes to town, and it is gory. It's gruesome. And the shot of his head that we get, which I don't even know if that's in the regular movie or just the director's cut, but the shot of his head that we get afterwards is gruesome.
Yeah, I think that the Judith, the Steve, and the Wesley kills they're almost equal. They're almost across the board. The only weak one I think is where he kills the abusive boyfriend.
Yeah,
or whatever.
I wish he would have beat him in the head with the baseball bat.
It's still a good kill. It's still like that's still one of the best kills in the movie because the throat looks so good. But compared to how brutal the other three are, those are some of the top kills in this whole movie. Is when he's a kid.
I agree, and Ronnie, that kill looks really good. It's like you were saying, the throat looks great. It's really gory. I wish that he would have did a little more with the knife. Like a knife is such a basic kill, a slit to the throat of somebody that's tied up. But when you look at how he kills Judith, that was almost that was up there with one of the kills too. Like you said, they're all kind of equal because he doesn't just stab her or slit her throat. He literally like goes to town at cutting at her and chopping at her. And I wish that, especially as shitty of a character as Ronnie was, I wish he would have went to fucking town on him while he was tied up.
My older Michael kill this is going to be surprising. I had a real hard time picking this one, but mine's actually going to be Mason Strode, Lori's dad.
And they don't really show it.
The reason why I picked that kill is because it's out of nowhere. It's so surprising. I have seen this movie many times and I always forget that that kill happens. And when it does happen, it's one of the few times in the movie where I'm like shocked for a moment.
It's like Michael Myers in assassin mode. Like
He hits him so brutal and so hard. And it's just, it's, you know, you have this nice scene with the family and everything's great. And you think it's just going to be, you know, that scene that's in a million movies. And they don't give you any time for that to fade off. They immediately hit with this brutality. And then it leads, like, he literally cuts his throat, catches him, slams him through the front door, and throws him on the ground in a matter of like a second and a half. And then the brutality that you know, he instantly moves on to this brutality of her mom. Um, yeah, there's so many kills in this that are and I don't blame Rob Zombie for this, because this is what Michael Myers is known for, but there a lot of them are really just kind of standard knife kills. But this one, it shocked me. It was brutal. It's quick. I really like this kill. I think that it probably gets overlooked because there's so much other stuff going on, but I really like this one.
It's so quick. I actually rewound to see when I was taking notes if I missed him being finished off when he got pushed through the door.
No, he gets him on that first cut, and that's all it is. And he uses his body.
Said, it's like assassin Michael Myers, man. He comes out, it's quiet, comes out of nowhere, and his whole point is to get him out of the front of the house and get inside, and he just quietly, like, just slashes him, opens the door while he's falling, catches him, and drops him in the house.
I mean, he uses Mason's body as a battering ram to get through the door.
Like, yeah, maybe not so quiet, but
I mean, Mason dies and his ghost probably like, what the fuck just happened?
His lungs probably still full of smoke.
He's like, you know, what the fuck? Like, you know, he doesn't even, he ends up in like fucking heaven or something. Like, and he's like, what? How did I die? Did I have a heart attack?
It's like those truth commercials told me that cigarettes were going to kill me, but goddamn.
But yeah, so that is my favorite older Michael kill in this movie.
Well, I'm gonna go with, because I will say that I wish that the adult Michael Myers kills, some of them would have been as brutal as the first couple with him as a kid.
That's one of the reasons I picked the Mason too.
But I'm gonna go with Bob, and I'm trusting you on this. Is that his name's Bob, but I have him as Linda's boyfriend. And whenever he jacks him up against the fucking wall and he stabs that knife, and you don't really realize, like, you're kind of, you see his feet, you know, they show his feet and they show him wiggle and wiggle, and then they just go limp. And you don't know if Michael Myers is holding him up against the wall or if he's pinned, and then Michael just literally, like, lets him go. It's almost like Michael wanted to see if he was going to stay. Like, he was almost testing it. Like, he holds him up there until he's dead, and then he, like, drops his hands down and gives it a good test. Like, is he in there good enough? Is he gonna stay? But yeah, it was a knife kill that would have been normally basic, but because they added that in there with him being pinned up against the wall, that was my favorite. A lot of the adult Michael Myers kills are kind of on a similar level. They're all kind of, you know, they're all up there with each other. But that one was my favorite. That's what I took away as far as my favorite adult Michael Myers kill. That one stood out the most to me.
All right, rating time. I gave this movie, I went back and forth between a 3.8 and a 4. And every time I'd give it a 4, there's some things that just bug me so much that I couldn't sit with the 4. So I ended up kind of meeting in the middle, and I gave this movie a 3.9. The reason why is because I hate all the dialogue with the girls, with the teenage girls. It's terrible.
I thought they did really good job at being teenage girls, though.
They're too vulgar. Their whole entire conversation is like worse than me and my friends at 17.
I went to high school shortly after this, and I thought they did pretty good with this. Maybe in Florida, high school is not as vulgar, but I know here, and I heard some shit.
Yeah, I just didn't like the dialogue. I hated their dialogue. And then there's the whole like the very end, she's like, um, because like it, some of it's not even just when they're together. I hate that dialogue with where you meet Lori as a teenager. She comes down for breakfast and she's like being kind of real gross with her mom, talking about the fucking the dude at the hardware store fucking her, and she's like doing the finger in the bagel, and
Yeah,
I'm
I
just
thought
like,
that
man,
was
this
weird.
is so cringy because I don't think this girl would talk like that. Then there's a really annoying scene where Danielle Harris and she's dropping Lindsay off, and they start kind of like humping each other, and they're doing like, oh yes, like pretending like they're fucking in the hallway in front of these kids, and I'm like, this is, I don't know, man, this is weird. I don't like any of that stuff. I think it's badly written. Another thing is I hate Michael removing his mask. You were talking about that scene earlier. I didn't say anything because I was saving it for this. I fucking hate that whole entire chunk of scene. I don't like any of that. I don't like Michael getting stabbed and then he gets shot and he's fine. He gets shot multiple times. He's fine, but he gets stabbed. He just goes to sleep for 2 minutes or something.
He was faking.
Yeah. The rape scene, way too long. Hated that. So there was some things that I didn't like, so it ended up hitting a 3.9. Other than
Okay.
that, I love the rest of the movie.
Well, I am going to give this movie a 4.3. Look, I know this movie, and I'm probably going to get some shit for that. I know this movie is hated by a large group of people who are huge fans of the original Halloween, and I love the original Halloween. And I get it for the older people whose the first one came out, and that was their Halloween. That was their childhood's Halloween. Well, this is my childhood's Halloween, and so I don't have that same feeling against it. The gore, it was one thing that a lot of people hate it for. I love it for the gore. Fans of the original said that the movie was so scary it didn't need gore. And that was something John Carpenter
Totally
said.
disagree.
And yeah, I disagree. The gore is something that I really like. And also the cinematography I thought was fantastic. I loved them. Another reason that this movie's hated on is that the first half of it is kind of a prequel. I love that part
I
of
do
it.
too.
I love seeing Michael Myers, how brutal he was and his killing as a kid. I like seeing the backstory that they give him that kind of gives some more insight on the perfect storm that was created to create this. And then the slow downfall that he had, that they show like scenes in the hospital that's every couple months or every year or two, and they show him slowly in a downward spiral becoming pure evil, which is Michael Myers. So I love that part of it. Outside of the script, I thought the actors were great. I didn't have any complaints. I thought Dr. Loomis, the guy who they got to play him, was really good. I thought Tyler Mane was one of the most menacing Michael Myers that they had. I thought Scout Taylor Compton was a amazing final girl. I will say overall, if you haven't seen this movie, and I feel like a lot of horror fans have, but if you haven't seen it, don't listen to all the negative comments about it. This is one of those movies that people either love or hate, and make that decision for yourself. So if you haven't seen it, definitely check it out.
Yeah, this is kind of, if I was to compare it to something, it's like episode 1 of Star Wars. It's like the people that were fans of the original, like 3 from the 70s and 80s, hated the ones that came out in the 90s. Those were our, childhood Star Wars movies, and they're not perfect. That's not a perfect
None of
movie.
them are perfect.
This is not a perfect movie. I literally just named off 4 things I hate about it. But if honestly, like if I was gonna watch a Halloween movie, I'd probably watch this one.
Yeah, I'll
I
just say
love
it.
the original, but man, we grew up in a time where brutality and gore is just hand in hand with horror. This day and time, especially with our generation and especially with the generation after us, we don't have super long attention spans. Unfortunately, a movie like this has 22 fucking kills, and a lot of them are very brutal. You want to watch them. This movie keeps your attention. It's in it, and Michael Myers looks great. He's grungy. His mask is dirty. We get an amazing backstory for him. I don't think that it takes anything away from the character. I think it's just made for our generation.
I have no problem going out and saying that this is my favorite Halloween movie to watch. Like, if I'm picking one, this is my go-to Halloween movie. And my favorite genre of horror is slashers. And when I watch a Friday the 13th, I want to see Jason Voorhees brutally fuck some counselors or teenagers having premarital sex. I want to see somebody get fucked up, like I do, and I don't want to just see a flash of it about to happen, and then that's all I get to see. That's we have these FX teams that do these practical effects that make good money doing what they do, and they get paid good money for a reason, and it's because there's a lot of people who want to fucking see the as realistic as possible. You're not throwing kids in a fucking tree grinder or something, but this is what we want to see. When I watch a Halloween movie, I want to watch Michael Myers kill people. That is my main driving force for watching a Halloween movie. It's a slasher. I want to see Michael Myers slash some people up. And this movie gives us a ton of that. It gives us brutality, it gives us gore, and it even is generous enough to give us a prequel and a backstory to kind of show his descent into darkness. But I agree.
I mean, that's all I really got to say about Halloween. Rob Zombie's unrated director's cut from 2007. We went over the whole movie. We kind of gave you our opinions, and I hope that you like this movie as much as we do. You got any last words?
Happy fucking Halloween.
Oh, yeah. Happy Halloween. Enjoy your Halloween. Fucking dress up. Go get candy. Hang out with the family. Hang out with yourself. Watch scary movies. Summon a demon. Whatever you want to do.
Don't eat candy corn.
Stay away from candy corn. Please, for the love of God, don't hand candy corn out to children. It's dangerous. Man, that bitch got a fine looking dumper on her.